Hello and welcome to Diecast Restos. I'm Jason and this is a Matchbox MB169 Peugeot Quasar, produced between 1986 and 1991. It's a pretty authentic replica of French manufacturer Peugeot's first ever concept car from 1984. It was the second of only two Peugeots produced so far for Matchbox's main line after the 205 Turbo 16 from 1984. Coincidentally, the Quasar concept is based on a 205 T16 chassis, but more on that later. This is how the Quasar concept looked. Its incredibly sleek but unmistakably 80s bodywork at the front is teamed with an exposed engine at the rear with a wild bright red interior. That interior I aim to recreate in this Restoration Plus. I'll also add in the other exterior detailing too. The Quasar's origins lie with Peugeot wanting to seek entry into the FIA's Group B rally regulations. I have gone into the history of Group B a couple of times previously in my Audi Quattro and Ford RS200 videos, and I intend to restore or customise the 205 T16 at some point in the future, so I shan't go into it. But 200 205 T16s based on the subcompact 205 by Peugeot were built for homologation purposes starting in 1984. They had some success in 1984, recording 3 World Rally Championship victories, and would go on to win the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship in 1985 and 1986. But back in 1984, Peugeot had tasked designers Gérard Welter and Paul Bracq to design a concept based on the 205 T16. Welter would design the exterior and Bracq the interior. The technical specification of the Quasar matched that of the T16, with its mid-mounted, twin-turbo, inline-4 1.8 litre engine, tuned to produce 600 horsepower. It was also all-wheel drive. The sleek and simple body panel exterior utilised the 205's rear light cluster. It did have scissor doors, but the interior was far from simple. It was adorned with red leather throughout, with Peugeot Lion logos stitched into each seat. The carpets were a contrasting shade of bright blue. Heavily inspired by science fiction, Bracq implemented an electronic gauge cluster with blue display, controls on the passenger side, and a primitive navigation system by means of a centrally mounted CRT monitor. It was also programmed to send and receive telex messages. Sadly, it would never go into production, though the prototype is on display at the Museum of the Peugeot Adventure in Sochaux, France. Here I've taped off the engine section of the plastic insert to colour the interior in authentic red. Matchbox's mainline Quasar was available in white for the first 2 years of its production span. They diverted away from realism in 1988, painting it plum red with yellow tampos. It was briefly coloured blue in 1987 for the Laser Wheels series and for a US only release. The 8-dot wheels found on the mainline castings could have either the typical chrome foil print or a white print. The white print variety more closely resemble the turbofan white wheels found on the Quasar. Despite mine originally coming with chrome wheel trim, I opt to give them a coat of white instead, and see how they turn out. But now I can really kick on with some detailing. I use Molotow liquid chrome to liven up the worn out chrome plating on the engine section of the interior piece, now that the two parts have been divided. For the narrower segments, I use the 1 instead of 2mm pen. When that's dry, I begin detailing the interior, drawing in the blue electronic display gauges and CRT monitor, control panels in silver, and screen surround in black, as well as the steering wheel details and other dash features. Hopefully you will still be able to see some of this detailing through the polished smoke-tinted window piece. Speaking of which, I now dunk the piece in Astonish wood floor polish. I use the Molotow again as a base for those 205 light clusters. And despite this reference showing red lettering, I had another that used black lettering on the rear. But what's done is done, either would look fine in my opinion. I must say these fine Artistro pens are excellent for this kind of thing, a massive step up from the Sharpies, that's for certain. The body itself doesn't require too much detailing. Most of the usual highlights you would apply have been artistically and conceptually removed on these concept cars. It doesn't stop me from doing the running gear on the base though. My Sharpies continue to remain useful on the tail lights over the chrome. Combined with Citadel Nuln Oil, it looks very realistic. I also try to add in the Peugeot lion emblem using my 1mm Molotow pen on the grille, though this isn't particularly detailed by my own admission. Now, Matchbox on their casting when brand new emblazoned Quasar in the correct stylized font entirely along each of the scissor doors. As you can see in the inset image, it was actually a lot smaller, set between the door and the rear wheel arch. So I've opted for realism while adding in the rear-facing wording beneath the exhaust pipes. They are so small they are barely noticeable, but hopefully they make all the difference on the finished product. Here's a first glimpse of my finished white wheels, and I think they look pretty good. I was originally a bit apprehensive about the finish, but a couple of coats with the paint pen and they look decent. Now it's onto Citadel gloss application over all of the casting lines. This will help the cast detailing stand out that little bit more. Again, there aren't too many areas to apply it to being a concept, but the most notable difference is to the light clusters. They are transformed from just being a colourful addition to a realistic representation. And now to reassemble the Quasar. In first goes the polished canopy style window piece, which incorporates the headlights, a bit of a rarity that for Matchbox. After the interior piece is carefully inserted, the base connects via a latch at the back and a screw through the post to the front. So here's how the quirky Quasar looked to start with. It was damage free but very well played with. The window canopy was significantly scratched, but thankfully not gouged like so many play-worn castings. The Quasar has to be one of my favourite concept cars ever, and this casting is a great replica. But as ever, Matchbox have left me with an ideal opportunity to improve on the original concept. So let's take a look at my take. And here it is, the Peugeot Quasar closer to how the actual concept car looked. With some simple additions and adjustments, this casting now looks as the designers intended. I've downsized the side decals, while I've added in a teeny tiny one beneath the exhausts. The tail lights and lettering have improved on the wacky rear end design, featuring the re-chromed exposed engine. I like how the white wheels have turned out instead of using chrome. I also really love how the interior looks, though it is lost a little under the canopy under reflective studio lighting. Just to note, I didn't draw in the windshield wiper or black pillars on the canopy, as I thought that would detract from the overall desired look of the concept. But I've had fun doing this one. If you enjoyed, please leave a like, subscribe, and feel free to leave a comment. But all that leaves me to say is thanks for watching, and I'll see you again for the next one. Bye for now.